Homeschool How To. I'm Cheryl, and I left the life of classrooms and cubicles for home educating in the countryside, but I have no idea how to homeschool, so I interview the people who do. Join me on my quest to learn all the ways there is to homeschool. Welcome with us today. I have Natalie Watts, and Natalie, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me. I'm so excited to be here. This is fun.
This is fun, especially when I've been talking to someone on Instagram and I really kind of forget how we even connected in the first place. Because sometimes people reach out to me, but then other times, like I see someone put in a comment on someone else's post and I'm like, oh, will you come on my podcast? So I never know what I'm getting into because I'm super disorganized as well. So... But you are a realtor.
Like 3 months ago, so
yeah, it's been a while. You're a realtor mom that homeschools her 7 kids, and you homeschool through your business. So this sounds really cool. This intrigued me. So let's just get back to the very beginning. Well, what state are you in? How many kids do you have? And you don't have to say all their ages because you probably don't even know at this point when they're 7.
Yeah, so I'm from Minnesota. I've always lived here. And I was public school growing up. I actually really liked it. I graduated from a charter high school, but my husband homeschooled, and his parents were actually the pioneers of making it legal in Minnesota. So they were among like the families who did that. And, you know, it's funny because when I was in the 8th grade, we had to do a debate class, and I never this was before I even knew who my husband was or anything about homeschooling, but we like drew subjects out of a hat. And we had to do homeschool versus public school, and I let my partner pick what she wanted. So then I did homeschool, and I basically proved why you should homeschool your kids, even though that was never my plan. So it's kind of funny. I have an interesting journey, but yeah, so now
That's
I have
awesome.
7 kids that I homeschool and never thought that would be me, but here I am.
So what ages, like what's the youngest and the oldest? We'll just do that.
I have twins that are 5, and they were surprise twins. We were on our way home from a camping trip, and I went into labor. We had home births for all of our kids. So we were getting ready to have the baby at home. But the baby wasn't coming. So then we went to the hospital and they were like, oh, so you have twins. And we went in to see if there were twins at 20 weeks and they showed us 1 baby. So we were just like, okay, we're wrong. The dreams my husband was having, he was wrong. The way I was feeling, I was wrong. And then there were twins. And it was great though. It was completely uncomplicated. I was able to push that. They were both head down facing back. I was able to push them both out. No complications. So those are my twins. And then my oldest will be 16 in just a couple weeks.
Oh, fun. So 11-year gap there. Did your husband have to talk you into the homeschooling?
The short answer is no. You know, it's funny when you're like young and in love, right? You like do what you're kind of dumb. So I just went along with what I knew was important to him. And then I'm actually really, really glad that it is what we did. So it worked out really well. I wouldn't have it any other way. And it's so funny that now it's kind of like the trending thing to do when we were sort of the outcasts when we first started. So
yeah. So you started from the very beginning. They've never been in public school.
Yep.
And so if your oldest is, you said 16?
Yep.
Okay. So how do the older kids feel about it? Like, are they happy that are they like, oh, look at all our friends are coming onto the bandwagon of homeschooling? Or, you know, have they ever talked about wanting to go into school?
Yeah, my oldest, so he's on the football team. Our kids play sports for public school. And he's on the football team, and they give him a pretty hard time about being homeschooled. So last year was our first year where we really struggled with them like, oh, I want a public school. And I was like, no, because there was a lot of bullying even on the football team. And so I was like, why would I put you in school to make this worse? And now sports are back in swing again for the spring, and people have actually been a lot nicer to him this year. So hopefully things get better, but that's really all we've struggled with. Most other kids don't ask to go to public school.
That's hard. And they're getting to that age where like they want to be around the girls and vice versa. So yeah, I can imagine that is going to be the struggle. Like we have a lot of homeschoolers in our area, but it's just, you can imagine the kids are going to be like, well, what else is there out there? But then again, we're in a small district. So it's like, well, there's like 5 more girls you could pick from. So just go down to Stewart's. You'll see one of them there. Are you guys in a big town or is it kind of small?
We're we're like a wannabe small town. So we're not quite a small town, but we have like 8,000 people. We're growing kind of rapidly though, but we're not anything like a normal city, I would say. Thankfully, my 16-year-old has said that he came to me and he's like, I'm not gonna have a girlfriend until I can support her. And so now that he'll get his license next month, he's, can drive himself to a job. I was like, you're either gonna have to take a scooter or you're gonna have to use, I'm not driving you to your dates and I'm not paying for them. So, um, yeah, so thankfully he's not really interested in that at this point. I'm sure his best friend just got a girlfriend though, so we'll see.
Yeah, it does. I'm not really looking forward to those years or conversations. All right. So now you are a realtor, you have your own business, and you kind of like entrepreneur, mentor people who want to homeschool and be a realtor as well. But so how did you even get into the idea of like, hey, I have 7 kids, I think I'm gonna start a business? Or did you already, had you been doing that from the beginning?
No, so I married into a very conservative family that really believes like the woman should stay home and just be with the kids and you don't work. And I raised myself growing up from a very young age. So I didn't live with like my parents. I just took care of myself. So I was pretty independent, had my own apartment, and married into a family that believed in, they don't actually like do dating, they do betrothal, if you're familiar with that at all. So it's like, yeah, that's good. Just stay out of it. But anyways, so you basically don't date before you're married. And it's just a very conservative approach. But anyways,
That's like, all right, you're stretching the word conservative because like conservative here means like we might have chickens, we voted for Trump, we
okay,
might own a
so
gun.
yeah,
Like,
no,
this is
he was
a
raised
stretch.
like he was raised like, I'm trying to think of like what would be the closest thing to it.
Amish?
Women, I mean, they're not at all Amish, but I feel like that would be similar. So, the women wear skirts and head coverings and they don't vote, they don't take up arms, just very, what do you call that? Like, I guess it could just ultra
Amish, you call it
conservative.
up.
Okay, Amish with no beards
There's
or hats
no
and they
other
use
word.
electricity. I don't know.
Oh, but they
So
use electricity. Okay.
I mean, it
Yeah.
was totally like not Amish, but I mean, I guess I could see the similarities. But so, anyways, all that to say, like, I was totally not like that. Like,
Where did you two meet?
That's even weirder. My sister, like, she dated his older brother, and they're not like that at all. So his 3 older siblings were not like that, and he was kind of the guinea pig on this new way of life. And he's one of 9. So, anyways, basically we met through our brother and sister who dated, and then they were married for 20 years. And he did go in the military, despite how he was raised. So his brother was a pilot and flew the Osprey, and did that until COVID, and then got out of that. Due to requirements, right?
Yeah.
And so he just started flying for Delta, actually. But anyways, so that's how we met. As crazy as it is, they were not weird, and we were just like trying to be weird, I guess.
Okay. So his brothers were not raised with the like Amish sort of Mennonite kind of thing.
Yeah, so
But they
no, they
switched
weren't. They
midway
weren't.
and were
So
like,
no, it
let's.
wasn't. So nobody, I don't even know what they would call it. I guess they were just like, they weren't Amish or Mennonite or anything. It was just like very, not the kind of conservative that you and I would think of conservative, but just like, I guess they call it conservative. So I don't know. Maybe
Or
ultra
like
super conservative.
living in 1800s or something.
Yeah,
So
kind of. Basically, like you
but
can your
not all
food,
the but not all the
all this.
siblings grew up that way.
Yeah, so he's number 4 in the lineup of 9. And um so the oldest 2, nobody really knows what they're doing with their first and second kid, right? And then you kind of get these like weird ideas. And so then they just decided that this was how they thought it would be really good to protect your heart before you got married. And so they practiced this thing called betrothal. And I will say, when they believe in betrothal, David, my husband, is the only one who actually ever did betrothal. I think everyone figured out, wow, that doesn't work. So we were like,
But it
the
worked for you so
experiment.
far.
Yeah. So everyone's out of the house now. They're all old, and not everyone's married, but they're all out of the
So
house doing their own thing. And
if you didn't date him, like what did you guys How'd you
I don't
discover that
even
you might want to
think
get
you want to
married?
know.
Do you have to talk to each other on the phone or?
We did talk on the phone. Yeah, we did talk on the phone. And then he wasn't supposed to talk to me on the phone, he realized. So, I mean, the whole thing was kind of dumb because I lived in my, like, I was working at the Mall of America at the time at Express. And, he was doing construction and like, I mean, it was just, I don't even know. This is such a weird story. But so I thought it was normal to talk to people on the phone. For him, it was weird. So then he stopped talking to me. And then he tried to, like, everything was kind of, like if you read about something and then you try to implement it, like that was what they were trying to do, but it's so not real. Like it's not the reality. So unfortunately for us, it was like horrible because he was trying to do things that would like make his parents happy and it just wasn't working. Like I lived on my own. My parents were divorced. I didn't even talk to my mom. My dad lived like far away with my stepmom who didn't like me, and they're like trying to make my dad be involved, right? And so he goes and he asks my dad, can I pursue your daughter? And he's like, I don't care, So the whole thing was just like weird. But anyways, so I don't even know how we got off onto that, but that's how we met, was through my brother or my sister and his brother who married for 20 years and then they got divorced.
So now all of a sudden
Yeah,
you
where
look
did
like
that
the good in-law, the good daughter-in-law.
Yeah, I don't think no, they don't like me at all. I am not the daughter-in-law they like. They wish I was, still at home with the kids. Oh, that's how we got onto this. So I stayed home and we had 7 kids. My first 3, my oldest was 2 when my third was born. So they were very, very close in age. And I really loved it. Like I loved being a mom. I loved staying home. We did a lot of gardening. We raised chickens. We did seed saving. We did all this stuff. And it was like kind of a fun world. But I went to a charter business high school, like downtown St. Paul. We had to graduate with tons of hours working for big corporations. Like I just loved business and marketing. And so my heart was always there. And my husband had his own business, but we didn't do things the same way. And it was actually worse for me to help him with his business than it was for me. So I just stayed out of it. And then, okay, so 2021, somewhere around there, we decided that I should, like, he could kind of tell that I loved being with my kids, but there was still a piece of me that was missing. And so he's like, why don't you get your realtor's license? That's something that you can do while you still have kids. And so I kind of strategized and I was like, how can I do this? Because I knew that I didn't want to be a mom that worked from home but just ignored my kids. I was like, I
Yeah.
have to, if I'm going to do this, I have to be able to homeschool my kids through my business. And we had already done unschooling or delight directed learning where we didn't teach from textbooks or sit at a table. Like we just, thankfully I had so many homeschool mom mentors when, from my husband's parents group where they would all get together. And the reason they homeschooled was they didn't want the traditional public school experience, where kind of like right now what we're facing is people don't want their kids in public school, but they also are trying to recreate public school at home. And I'm like, that's not good. So anyways, I just kind of came up with a blueprint. Like, how was I going to do this? The twins were just born, so they were really young. And kind of came up with a plan of, okay, this is how we'll implement math. And like my kids would go to work with my husband doing construction already. So we had an idea a little bit of how this would work. But yeah, we just like, it's just delight directed learning. So we really only teach them things that they're interested in. So like my daughter really loves design and she's super organized, type A. So she does things like that in my business that she enjoys doing. And then like my son is really into, he's learning how to make videos. So for like flying a drone and doing those kinds of things. So we've just figured out, and my little girls help write the cards like to my clients for handwriting. So that's kind of how we do it, is just that was my plan and it's worked pretty well. I'm the busiest I've ever been before though. And so I'm, you're kind of constantly reevaluating, how do I do this? So I just hired an assistant because I'm not willing to put my kids on the back burner for the business, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, I'm just imagining you like carting these 7 kids around to, oh, we have a house showing. Let's go. And you all roll out in the bus and
Yeah. We do have a 15 passenger van, but yeah, I haven't taken all of them with me for a long time, but it's
oh,
nice
that's
because
so
my
fun.
kids, my clients, most of them have kids, so I'll take whatever age range my other clients have. And then they have somebody to talk to, which gives the parents like an opportunity to walk around without their kids hanging on them.
That's awesome. That's so cool.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, there's so much that you can get into just from the marketing aspect to the financials. I mean, just teaching your kids how it works, to buy a house and what's the market like, and okay, house
Mm-hmm.
can be worth this, this year, but the market could drop. And so, I mean, that are you like consciously thinking about that as you educate them?
Yeah, basically everything is constantly learning. We teach making breakfast is homeschool even, so like one of my kids cook from a very young age, so even my 7-year-old, she knows how to, we talk about fractions and we'll add the amount of cups of flour we need based on like 1/3 plus 1/3 plus 1/3. Okay, now we got to our 1 cup. So it's not even just through the business that we homeschool, but it's just kind of the practical applications. And I will say that the best part about this is the kids are really learning like how to be the change they want to see in the world, how to um, learn real life like principles and applications. Like my two oldest just got back from New Zealand from 10 days visiting my sister who lives out there. And, like they learned how to do homeschool while they were in New Zealand. But when you say homeschool, it's so you're not sitting down doing a textbook, right? You're just like learning about the world. Like that's your geography class and that's, phi ed, right? You just figure it out. But
So do you guys
so
have any requirements in Minnesota that you have to report?
yeah, so there is standardized testing that you have to take every year. In Minnesota, you're not required to report it to anybody, but you're supposed to have it available if um, if somebody asked, but I've never seen anybody ever get asked. And then they do have like suggested requirements. So they have like, okay, if you graduate, you should have this and this and this, but the parent is the final say. And so you get to say when your kids graduate. So I do know some parents that graduate their kids when they're 16, and it's not because they took a bunch of extra credits. It's just they decided they were done and they graduate them.
Wow. So, all right. So when you look at like their future, I mean, I know right now, like I'm not a big one anymore to push the 4-year degree because it's kind of a waste in a lot of instances, but sometimes it's necessary. What does that like long term look like for you since you have a 16-year-old now, and how do you prepare them like when you do this sort of unschooling approach to make sure that if like they were to go into a university that they're going to be okay with that as far as even learning from a textbook, knowing how to manage, I
Mm-hmm.
mean they know how to manage time probably more than any other kid does, but um are or is that even their goal? Are they like from the get-go like, no, mom, I don't even want that. Don't worry.
So we've pretty much told them we'll support them in whatever they want to do. Noah next year will be old enough to do post-secondary, which is where you get to take college credits for free while you're doing high school. So it's called dual enrollment. So you can graduate with an associate's degree, usually, pretty much. Um, he hasn't wanted to so far. Um, so we haven't had to face that yet. I'm not really interested in pushing for college, but if they wanted to, I would support them. And they are knocking the standardized tests out of the park. And um, we're actually focusing a little bit more on like relationship building and connections and networking because I think that gets you a lot further than just a degree. So that's kind of what we emphasize at this point, and how to have the right. We do a lot of character building and character training. So like work ethic, grit, just critical thinking. Those are the kind of the top 3 things we actually teach at our house. And that's
What's a
easy to
grit?
teach through every day. Grit is doing I'll tell you our little family motto of grit. It's doing what you don't want to do to be who you know who you should be. So immersing yourself in difficult situations, like one of the things they know is we signed up for a homeschool co-op. We really didn't like found out it wasn't a good fit, but you didn't have the option to try it out. And so we're finishing out being there and paying a boatload of money and fulfilling a bunch of volunteer hours because we committed to it, and seeing it through, and so they see that example, like the financial cost and how you should be careful before you sign up for something, right? Or just, the sibling relationships, right? Like we used to run a homeschool co-op in our town, and that was something, grit was a class that we made the kids take, and it was putting all the students in a room and immersing them in a challenge that they had to solve together before they were allowed to leave the class and go on to the next one. And so that was their favorite class, and that was really, really fun.
Oh, that's cool. I've never heard anyone talk about it like that. That's really neat. Yeah, so even with your unschooling approach, they do really well on the standardized tests.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, my kids, so we taught them how to read at a really, really, really young age. So they are all exceptional readers. They check out 27 books at a time from the library. We have bookshelf upon bookshelf. I mean, we can't even keep enough books around, which is why it's so hard to spend like 25 bucks on a book because they just read through them so fast. And I remember going to a homeschool convention once and complaining to one of the speakers, like, we can't get our kids to stop looking at books. And he was like, you're crazy. Like, I would give anything for my kid to not want to put a book down. So there is a woman who goes around, I can't remember her name, but she goes around all over the country to teach people how you don't even need textbooks, you don't need classes, you don't need anything. Just teach your kids by giving them books to read. And they're not even like educational books. I don't even know what they are because we didn't use her approach. But I was amazed because we were up north camping and my daughter was like, oh, we're going north. We were like on a hike somewhere. And I was like, how do you know we're going north? She's like, oh, the moss is growing on this side of the rocks. And I was like, how do you know that? And she was like, oh, it's from the Underground Railroad book I read. So, I mean, like, it works. I mean,
My son would be like, well, it's from Wildcrats.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's that too. But
Same thing.
yeah, no kidding. But yeah, they just read so much that they learn so much just from fiction books, nonfiction books. A bunch of them are into history. Some have asked for history to be on the standardized testing, which honestly, I think the world could use a little history in their standardized testing because it's totally being rewritten right now.
It could use the right history, not just what they want to cherry pick and how they want to put the spin on it.
Yeah. And they're teaching me so much, like, I don't even know. So we were kind of joking around at our house once, and one of the kids said something, and I said that we were running like a dictatorship or something. We were just joking around. He goes, no, this is and you probably know what this term is. I don't, which is a little bit embarrassing, but he's like, no, it's a oligarchy or oligarchy. I don't know what it is. And I was
oligarchy.
Like, yeah.
I wouldn't know the definition. I only know it because I don't know. What's that one guy that was on Fox? He used to always talk about.
I don't know, but he was joking, right? Because he was upset with however we were making the decisions to do something that he didn't like. But yeah, they are so smart. And I think it's because we just do so much with them. Where they're constantly at our sides, whatever we're doing in real life. So they're learning how to have real adult conversations, learning how to interact. We make them like, I have to make a point that my kids call the dentist or they call the doctor or whoever it is to make appointments. If we need to get like a refrigerator filter, we have to order directly from their factory. So we make them do those phone calls. We make them do the research if we need to fix something or, so when you it's so much easier to do it yourself, but when you make your kids do it, they really learn so much.
That is so true. Like, I'm just thinking, this made me think of my sister. Her oldest had graduated and he got like a speeding ticket or something. And they mailed him the little thing, which I think says like, are you pleading guilty or not? And if not, I think you got to show up at this date. So I think he put in guilty and then slipped cash in the envelope. And then he said to her, how do I fill out the envelope to mail this back? And she's like, wait, what are you mailing? And she's like, you don't put cash in here. And we... like, he didn't know how to fill out the envelope, but he had graduated high school, and I'm talking like in the last 5 years. And it's not like he's a stupid kid. They just never taught him that. And then I think as parents, when you send your kid off to school all day, I mean, they're gone it's dark in the morning when they leave and dark when they come back from sports and stuff. Like, you don't think about like, what didn't they teach you today that I need to fill in the gaps with? That's why I wrote the book, Let's Talk Emergencies, because like, I'm like, kids don't even know their parents' first and last names. So, they just know like mom and dad. But there's nothing out there saying like, you've got to train them how to call 911 if your cell phone's locked or if grandma collapses and all she has is a cell phone, like how to call 911 from her cell phone. But yeah, You're right. We don't think about, and that's brilliant to have them call and make their dentist appointments. Like, what age do you start doing that at?
I mean, pretty young. I mean, they all want to be on the phone and call their my sister who lives in a different country, or one of their friends. So if that's, I think as soon as they start expressing interest in using the phone, they're gonna have to do the things they don't like to. And like my 15-year-old, so my kids have all worked for us. We're both entrepreneurs, but we really want them to learn how to submit and respect other authority too. And so my daughter will be 15 in June. So in Minnesota, you can work for people when you're 14. And this is what you might actually find interesting. I had 3 business owners in New Prague, one for a garden center, one for the lifeguard position at the local indoor pool. I can't remember what the other one was, but they all called me because I used to run this homeschool co-op in our town. And they said, we need more homeschoolers to work for us because there's a difference in the kids who are homeschooled than the ones who are not, which isn't a general statement. I'm not saying that there's not good workers in public school or that all homeschoolers are good, but I do think it's interesting that they want homeschoolers to work for them. So my daughter is going to be 15 and she loves gardening and doing the kind of homesteading stuff. So she had to call her today, this lady who inquired about homeschoolers working for her company. And she was like, what do I say? I don't know what to do. She was like terrified. She didn't even know like how she should leave a message, which I understand a job is, intimidating. But so that was kind of a fun experience for her. And all my daughter wanted to do was text her though. I'm like, you are not going to text her. Like you can call, you can leave a message. And if she texts you back, that's one thing, but you're not going to have your first impression be a text message.
Right. And that's so important. I mean, you just think of the kids today. I mean, they won't even pick up a phone call from a number that they don't know. And I get it. There's so much spam.
Yeah.
But if it's the same area code, chances are it's, and you've applied for a job and now you're getting a phone call, chances are it's the job. So pick it up.
I know.
Yeah, I know people. I remember a coworker of mine telling me that his daughter and her friends would not pick up the phone call. So they kept missing these job opportunities. Apparently they didn't listen to the messages either. But so, okay. Oh, I had a question all right. I'm thinking back to like you started doing the realtor stuff when your babies were just born. How did you juggle that? Did you wait until they were all asleep or till your husband was home from his business to watch them so that you could get your stuff done? How does it physically work?
So to get your real estate license, you either have to go in person to a university or you can do it online. I did the online route, and I just purposed to do it after the kids were asleep. So I did all my education, and because I raised myself, I'm a no excuses, just results personality. I'm very driven, a self-starter, all these things. So like I have really high standards for myself, and you could only do X amount of hours every day. Like the computer system would shut down if you tried to do more. So I maxed out my hours. Anyways, all that to say, I got all my education done, and my first 30 hours, that's when you can take your state and national exam. And I did that, I think, in 3 weeks, which was like record time. I took the test. I passed both exams on my first try. And you have to this is kind of the crazy part. When you become a realtor, you have to get like your veins scanned and your eyes scanned because they want to make sure you're not a felon. Because they don't want, felons going in people's houses. So I wasn't a huge fan of that, but it's fine. I get it, I guess. So I did that. And then you have to go take another 60 hours of tests and exams that not exams, but like unit tests and whatnot. And then when you're done with all that, and those are all proctored, I got my license, and that was 6 weeks total. So like record breaking, like most people have never ever done that. So I did that because I knew time was of the essence if I was going to make it happen.
7 kids. Oh my God. I couldn't even get dinner on the table before 8 p.m. tonight.
Yeah. I don't like cooking in general though. So that was I hate cooking. I was never a cook. That's one of the reasons my in-laws don't like me very much. But we probably just did boxed macaroni and cheese. But I would probably start around, we don't go to bed early. The kids stay up with us till everyone goes to bed. So it'd probably be around 10 that I would start. And I don't think I would go to bed till 4 in the morning. And it was only, that's why I pushed through so hard, was I didn't want to do that forever because that's hard. So I did that. And then I just, it was important to me. I joined a brokerage that I could do my own thing. I didn't join it in a team. I didn't do anything. I just said, this is how I want my business to be done. I'm going to be different than everybody else. And I'm not going to look at how a single realtor did what they did. I didn't know how anyone else ran their business. But my brokerage would also make sure I was in compliance, and I just focused on the way I would market and run my business. Like I wasn't going to show up in a suit, right? Like I got 7 kids, but I make things happen and I was going to work really hard. So usually I'm in jeans and I don't know whatever shoes I'm wearing and a top. But my community voted me business of the year first year I was in business. And in a small town, you're probably somewhat familiar with this. Like if there's a realtor in town, everyone knows who they are. They've been there forever and that's who people use. And so I knew that I was already in a flooded market with established realtors, but I wasn't trying to like be competition to them or anything like that. It was just I was going to do things a different way. And so my community also gave me the name, the Thoughtful Realtor. So that's my name, the Thoughtful Realtor. And it's about growing a community, not just a paycheck. So then my community voted me. I was the only woman who was even voted into an award category that year. And that was really fun. And then the next year I was top 10 realtor in my state with my brokerage. So that was even cooler. Yeah, just like lots of cool things. So it is possible. And you just have to be really intentional every day. You almost have to take it one day at a time. Otherwise, you'll get overwhelmed and probably quit. So,
Yeah, I'm just thinking
because you have 7 kids doing it. Yeah.
like you're doing all that till 4 in the morning. You got babies, so they're probably waking up, needing to be fed, and you're so what, you're getting interrupted, and then you get back to the desk. Where was I? So I can't even imagine. Like you made it through that, but
Yeah.
congratulations. That is awesome.
It was tough, but again, like I think I just have a really high tolerance for stuff too because just of how I grew up. But yeah.
Yeah.
So
So, okay, how do you manage like the food then? If you don't even like cooking, you probably utilize the kids, especially now that they're older. But like, how did that even work? Even in the last 5 years, you had the babies, all these kids, they're eating. What does your meal plan look like?
I wish we had a meal plan. We've tried. I would love, like, if any one of your listeners actually has a meal plan that's like easy, like we would make meal plans, but we just never made the food. So, where you'd like go
Yeah.
grocery shopping, I don't know. We would just, I don't know. I mean, it's such a good question that should have like an easy answer. My husband does, like, he'll come from home from work and cook, or my oldest son loves home cooked meals. So he would often do something. Everyone just kind of pitches in. If nobody started cooking and somebody's hungry, then somebody will just start making the food. We try to eat pretty healthy. We grind our own wheat. We have a Nutrimill. Um, we eat healthy. We just don't have a plan. We're totally
That's
the
so
type B
funny.
family. I know.
That's so funny. I know. I find it's like my biggest I mean, I love, and I've tried to make meal plans too. Like, every Thursday I sit down and like, okay, what are we having every night for the next week? And what do I need for those ingredients? And what do we already have in the pantry? So I'm not overbuying. But still, it's just to figure out what you're doing for 7 nights of meals that you didn't just have the last
Yeah.
7 nights is so hard, especially when you're getting interrupted and so I'm like, okay, I'm just going to have like 14 meals and we're just going to rotate through them all. But still I've like put stuff together, but yeah, it actually implementing it has been hard. So
Yeah.
I'm with
Yeah.
you.
I
I
mean,
just don't have, there's not 9 people in my house and I find it hard with 4.
yeah, I don't know. I can't even tell you what we ate yesterday. I don't know. We eat every day. I just don't know how it ends up happening. Somebody just ends up doing it. So
That is
I guess
so
that's just
funny.
how
And
we
are there
roll.
like
Maybe that's what
always
you have to
dishes?
do.
Yeah. Are there always dishes in your sink with 9 people in your house?
Well, my third oldest, it's his job to do dishes after every meal. So he does the dishes and we rotate that out seasonally. So currently that's his job, but we don't always make it that way. Like at one point it was my oldest and then it was my second oldest and now it's on my third oldest and now we're transitioning to it being my fourth oldest job. So
What are
no,
some of
they're
the other
not.
jobs that
What
they
was
take
that?
on? What are some of the other jobs that they take on in the household?
My oldest has switched to the laundry, so his job is just to keep it running because he's got the most going on. So he just makes sure everything goes through the washer and the dryer. My oldest daughter, her job is to unload the dishwasher in the morning. After she's supposed to unload the dishwasher, the oldest loads it. But even we're transitioning now. Our twins and our 7 year, so our 5 year olds and 7 year olds do the unloading of the dishwasher now. They're like learning how to do it. And then our 7 year old sweeps. We really should have more responsibilities for them. Like when we first had our first three, so my almost 16, almost 15, and my 13 year old, they had so much more responsibilities than my younger kids do now. I think that's just what happens naturally, right? Like you end up getting more relaxed as time goes on. So I wish we had more chores because they had tons of chores growing up. But we also had like homesteading things. So there was like gathering the chickens and cleaning out the chicken coop and all of those things, doing the gardening. But we don't do that as much anymore.
Yeah, our chicken coop pretty gross. But I don't even want to send my son in there. He wants to clean it out, but it's like there's so much ammonia from there. I'm like, no, I feel like you're going to get a disease or something. I'll let me
Yeah.
get the disease. So, because he won't even wear a mask for that. We've like just put
Yeah.
such a bad like inkling about masks on him so that he's just like, no, I'm not wearing a mask for that. I'm like, well, this it might actually work for. These are particles that can't
Yeah.
get
It's
through.
gross in there. It's like when we don't have a chicken coop at our new house, but yeah, it does get gross if you're not on
Oh, how
top of it
funny.
for sure.
All right. So, what are some of the other things that you were kind of thinking about that you wanted to talk about while we had you here as we're running up on 40 minutes or so?
Oh, sure. Yeah. I don't know. I just kind of wanted to inspire and encourage the person who feels like they want to homeschool, they have a passion for, I think for me, recognizing that I had a passion for business and that that doesn't have to die or go on the wayside, but that there is a way to do it, like with your kids and homeschooling. I just think that it's important to learn that you don't have to, and you push this on your Instagram page a lot, like you don't have to sit at a desk. You shouldn't even sit at a desk bringing the public school to your house. But that they're like, don't underestimate the power of just like teaching your kids alongside you and including them in what you're doing and like how much they learn through that. And then being a realtor is a great way to do it. If anybody's interested in being, doing that, like that's such a great way to learn all the things in public school. So that was just what I wanted to kind of encourage people in.
I love that. Oh, you know what I was going to ask you too? How did you get your kid? You said that you got all your kids reading at early ages. And so, especially with homeschooling, you hear the whole like, well, wait until they're ready and their synapses are connected and don't push it because if you push it, they're not going to like it and then they won't end up being kids that love reading. So, what was your approach to that? And then how did you get them to actually love reading? Were they like, do you guys read all the time? Do you do screens at all? Where they got nothing else to do other than open a book?
Yeah, no. So it's funny. I wish I had it in here. I don't know where our homeschool books are. We moved like 6 months ago and some stuff's still in boxes. But when Noah was little, so my mother-in-law actually had this great reading program. Um I'm so thankful she came across it because I feel like all my friends have overcomplicated teaching their kids how to read. Like they have these little mini flashcards and all these things, and their kids struggle and they're, so upset they don't get it. And I'm like, oh my goodness, I just want the world to know about this program. So I'll tell you about it. But the way it started out was there's this woman named Shar Lockhart, I think it was. She was extremely passionate about teaching kids how to read, but she did it with like a big chalkboard and she'd have the kids first learn how to do it in, I think she taught them cursive first and then print, but she does your consonants and then one vowel. So your first week or however you break it up learning is B, D, F, G, A. And so you're learning the sounds of those and look how to write those. And then once you have those down, then you go to the next 5 consonants and vowel. And then after that, you do your blends, but she just breaks it down in such an easy way. But it was like super old school. She typed it up on her typewriter and it was in this orange book called something phonic. I can't remember. I'll send you a picture of it because you have to see this string binder. And it had an audio cassette tape in it. But then this company called, and you might have heard of them before, Reading Horizons. There's other Horizons programs, but that's not this one. Reading Horizons. And they bought, after Shar died, they bought the rights to her program essentially, and then they turned it into a digital program online. And the customer service with this company is beyond exceptional. So good. And they basically just took what she did and sort of modernized it. And so I didn't use the orange theory binder with my last three, my most recent three, whatever you call them, right? I'm done having kids, but my youngest three, that's what I'm trying to say. And so if you go into Reading Horizons, they do the exact same things. It is in front of a computer, which I'm not a huge fan of, but we don't do anything else in front of the computer, so that's fine. But the best thing about it is like teaching my kids to read was like, I don't know. It was super easy, but I also love that with my older kids, I can focus on them and my younger kids can do this without anything. So they are done with the like big first part of the program, and they just brought me books and they just started sounding them out and reading them. So all I had to do was help guide them through what they knew so they'd start sounding out the words, and then I was just able to refine it a little bit. I'm like, this is the program. I think people like to do things the hard way though, because people prefer the flashcards, they prefer the little tiny, whatever. And so, this program, I think every parent should, and it works really well with dyslexic kids too. I have one kid that started out reading backwards and they just didn't get it for a while, but it was easy for them to fix. So anyways, if there's anything anybody should ever buy as a homeschool parent, I am telling them they should go to Reading Horizons because it is beyond exceptional.
All right, I'm going to give that a try. Because we are, my son's 6 and we've been, we've been working on it for, 2 years now. And it's not like he's not making progress. He sure is. But I just don't want it to be difficult. Like I want him to enjoy it. And it just seems like, I keep switching around what we're doing. And, and I don't want it to look like school at home either, which I really liked the All About Reading when we did the pre-reading course. I liked it, but it's school at home and that's fine. But I don't know. I would love to have something where he could be a little bit more independent with it, because then it could be like, okay, go work on that while I do this or something. So.
And my kids, my twins, they wake up every day asking to do it. They want to do reading all the time. They love it so much. The way the program has been designed is remarkable, and I think not enough people know about it.
I've never heard of it. This is the first I've heard of it, and I've talked to 100 homeschoolers.
Everyone I know. But I think people just like, there's so many affiliate programs out there that people make money off of, so those are the ones that people hear about. I'm not aware of any affiliate marketing with this one. Maybe there is, I don't know.
Maybe I can be the first. I'll be their affiliate marketer for them.
It's just
this is cool. So right. And I've asked that too, because I have the curriculum series. I mean, I literally interview people just on curriculum. No one's ever talked about Reading Horizons. But I've said that, like, okay, All About Reading and The Good and the Beautiful, are they really the best programs, or are they the ones with the best marketing strategy? I don't know. I liked them both, but I don't know if there isn't anything better,
Yeah.
So I will definitely try this out.
I like that we have, like, our family has families that have gone before us that have homeschooled all of their children and graduated them. They have successful businesses, and they all do things like we learned how we do the way that we do things, we learned from those families that went before us. And I'm just so grateful for that, because I know there's families that are just trying to do their hardest. They want to do what's right, and they are doing all this research and figuring it out. I'm like, you guys, it's really just so much easier than you're making it. And Reading Horizons is definitely one of those things. So you should try it out. It's not expensive. And their customer service is truly incredible. Give it a shot. I would love to hear what your son thinks of it.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, that would be great. And then, so the second part of that was, how did you get them to just love reading? Like, is there a secret?
I hated reading growing up. I wasn't a reader. I didn't read. So they certainly didn't learn it from me. I guess I think it's the program that my mother-in-law taught them, like the SHARS program. I think because it's not a stressful way to learn how to read, they have the desire to read. When it's being pushed and you feel like you're not enough, or you're not learning it right, or you're being told, you're dyslexic and so you can't get it right, you kind of just lose the excitement for it. But if it's something that they're learning to do in a fun, like the girls waking up begging to do their stuff, and then they bring me books, then they're sounding them out and reading them to me. Like, I didn't teach them that. I didn't try and push that. It's just something, I think, because they enjoyed the process, that's how it happened. I don't know. That's my best guess.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
And it sounds like you let them read the things that they want to read. So whether it's fiction or nonfiction.
We do have rules about what they can read. They know there's things that we don't want them to read. So they'll bring me books and say, you wouldn't want me to get this right. So like, we don't do magic at our house, kind of stuff like that. So there's no magic. There's no, we try to be really careful. And there's books like the Sugar Creek Gang was revised at one point. Those are really fun books for boys. And at one point they were revised. So we have all the books from the series when it was first made. And so that's really important too, because people come in change it up, and then it's no longer really that good. Because a lot of our books focus on character building. But yeah, we let them pick out what they want. It just has to fall under our criteria too, I guess.
Yeah, well, that makes sense. That makes sense. But you're not like, here, read this book on the Aztecs, if they're not
Oh, no, I've
into
never
it.
given them any books to read ever. They all choose their books. So the boys tend to pick. So our kids so my 10-year-old reads chapter books. She's really into like Babysitter's Club, Hardy Boys, Nancy
Oh,
Drew. And then my older kids, like Olivia, she reads like books this thick, and I don't even know what they are, but they go through them so fast I can't even keep up. But then my boys really steered towards just real life history. Like Malachi will read textbooks for casual reading, like the big books. I'm like,
wow.
okay, so there's your Knotgrass history, like, okay.
That's amazing. That's awesome. All right. Where can people find you if you do? I like your Instagram page. I was looking at it today, and actually you gave me an idea because I was, you have one of your pinned posts kind of like what you didn't know about me. And I'm like, oh, well, she sounds so interesting. And I was like, geez, I should have this. I paid this company to like help me organize my Instagram page a couple of months ago. And so they did that for me. They like interviewed me, and I didn't know what this was going to turn out like, but they made like a post kind of like that. And I'm like, oh, well, if that's what you were going to do, like I could have done that. Me and
Yeah.
ChatGPT could have like hooked up and made a nice post with Canva.
That's
But no, but they did some other things too that worked out well. But it's just kind of funny because I'm like, oh, I love the way yours is put together. So now I'm gonna have to copy on that. But
You should. So I pay a coach a lot of money to give me guidance on that kind of stuff. I don't focus a lot on growing my followers, but more just like nurturing the people who do find me. And that was my best performing post. And my coach told me it would be because she's tried it on hers. And then everyone asked for me to do it again. So I've been trying to make, 12 things you don't know me round 2, but I haven't had time yet. So
yeah. All right. So I'll have to put that, and you have it like pinned up to the top. So that's one of the first
yeah,
things people see.
yeah, it's up there.
Oh, yeah. No, I really like that. So, yeah, where can people find you on Instagram or any social media?
Yeah, I only use Instagram, and they can find me at the.thoughtful.realtor.
And so where did they come up with thoughtful? You said that your community dubbed you that.
Yeah, I'm very intentional about making other people feel thought about, and
Well, you sent thank you cards, so that might be where it came
we do
from.
thank you cards, we do thoughtful boxes. Just I'm really big about being the change that we want to see in the world and being super authentic. And so just supporting a lot of local small businesses. I mean, that's just like a whole nother conversation, but just really,
Yeah.
really, really investing in people and making sure um, you're taking note of like, I know one of the girls in town, she's 21. She started her own boutique on Main Street, and she just celebrated her 2-year anniversary. And so knew her favorite coffee drink and ran across the street to the local Cedar Press coffee instead of Caribou, right? You get her favorite drink, you bring it over there. It's just stuff like that, but you're doing it all the time. And I actually just hired my assistant. I know this sounds a little bit disingenuous because it's not me doing it, but there's just, when you get to the point where your business is so big, you have to get more people to help you. So I just hired an assistant to actually help me with all the people I couldn't get to. So the notes are still from me. Like I text her what I want them to say, but now she will hand deliver things for me with a note from me, or she'll mail packages off that I've picked out. So just being, you have to expand to be able to keep going. There's just not enough time in the day for me to get to everybody personally, but it does come from me now. It's just somebody else delivering.
Oh, I love that. Okay, so I will link your Instagram and the Reading Horizons website in the show's description. Anything else that you want to let people know about that you're working on?
They can DM me if you're interested in being a realtor that homeschools their kids. You can send me a DM at the Thoughtful Realtor, and we can chat.
Awesome. Awesome. Natalie, thank you so much for joining me today. This has been so fun. I'm excited to try the Reading Horizons. I'm definitely going to do that and get on my post about how crazy my life has been.
Yes, I can't wait.
All inspired by you, girl.
I'm going to watch for it.
Natalie, thank you for joining me.
All right. Have a good night. Thank you.
You too.